Well, good morning and welcome to this third Sunday of Advent. I've taken the first reading as my theme for my homily this morning, and so a reading from the prophet Isaiah. The Spirit of the Lord has been given to me, for the Lord has anointed me. He has sent me to bring good news to the poor, to bind up hearts that are broken, to proclaim liberty to captives, freedom to those in prison, to proclaim a year of favor from the Lord. I exult for joy in the Lord. My soul rejoices in my God, for he has clothed me in the garments of salvation. He has wrapped me in a cloak of integrity, like a bridegroom wearing his wreath, like a bride adorned in her jewels. For as the earth makes fresh things grow, as a garden makes seeds spring up, so will the Lord make both integrity and praise spring up in the sight of the nations. The word of the Lord. The joyful words we've just heard at the start of today's first reading have a long history. They were originally spoken by an unnamed prophet not long after a large group of Jewish exiles were allowed to return to Jerusalem and Judea following their captivity in Babylon. In spite of much opposition by the people who had come to occupy their country in the meantime, slowly the work of rebuilding their homes, their livelihoods, and the temple were making progress. It is in that scenario that this unknown prophet delivered his words of encouragement. Jesus then took up those words of encouragement when he joined the people of Nazareth in their synagogue shortly after his baptism in the Jordan, where he told them, "This day these words are being fulfilled in your hearing." At first his words were received with great joy, but then skepticism kicked in. Where did he get this knowledge, this wisdom? Is he not a son of Joseph the carpenter? And they would not accept him for what he was. Next in line is the church, which also heard those words, and without hesitation applied them to Jesus Christ as the fulfillment of that prophecy. And to make sure that they would not be overlooked, they were placed right ahead of all the readings we have at Mass on the Sundays in ordinary time, so that all Gospel readings which followed would be illuminated by that light. Now it's our turn. So let's listen to those words again as we heard them in the first reading. The Spirit of the Lord has been given to me, for the Lord has anointed me. He sent me to bring good news to the poor, to bind up hearts that are broken, to proclaim liberty to captives, to free those in prison, to proclaim a year of favor from the Lord. How do those words apply to us? In Australia recently, we have just been through the most devastating bushfires our country has ever experienced, with more deaths, more destruction of property and native habitat than could be imagined. Right now, together with the rest of the world, we are still going through the torments affected by the pandemic of the COVID-19 virus, with its loss of jobs, loss of business, danger of homelessness, huge national debts, and for many, precarious health. It is here, in this situation of lockdowns, face masks, movie restrictions, of movement restrictions and isolation, that the spirit of what is best in us came to the fore, as neighbors reached across to neighbors, reached out to the elderly and the housebound, cared for the homeless, observed social distancing, and in many other ways brought the words of the ancient prophet to light and made them a reality. Good 2 months ago, Pope Francis hooked into this with his call for a new order through his letter to the world, Fratelli Tutti, brothers and sisters all, calling for a universal recognition of our common humanity, that at base all of us are born equal, with the same rights and dignity that is our common inheritance, and that rather than privilege, we have a duty and responsibility to bear one another's burden in a way that leaves no one behind. In our Western world, that is very much countercultural. Yet there is the need for us to recognize that the gifts given us by God are to be used in the service of one another. And that applies to the skills we have cultivated as well, as the resources, financial or otherwise, which these skills and endowments have allowed us to acquire. Pope Francis holds up to us the example of the Good Samaritan, who did not ignore the plight of the man who'd been robbed and left for dead at the side of the road, but stopped to care for him with the means that were available to him there and then brought him on his own means of transport to a place of refuge, where he continued his care and paid for any further expense the innkeeper might have. In the change that's been called for by this COVID year, can we recognize the year of God's favor that has been given to us? Thank you.